Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing good today. I want to talk to you about what the sell or the funding of the Joe Rogan experience moving over to Spotify has taught me about corporate versus or company versus personal brands. So for a long time, I personally have had this debate. Should I grow my corporate, my company brand, the Southbound Media brand, or should I focus on growing my personal brand? And if you look at what a lot of well-known individuals do, they tend to have a personal brand that is represented on social media and other places. Of course, there's a company in the background, which is where all their taxes and everything flows through, but they focus on a personal brand. I have seen some individuals who focus on a corporate brand. So you can look at folks like Pat Flynn, who's well known online. He's known, obviously, Pat Flynn. They know who Pat Flynn is, but he has smartpassiveincome.com. Look at some of the online real estate agents like Ryan Serhant. Ryan has ryanserhant.com, but obviously he does business under a different, when he's selling real estate, I think it's through Nest Seekers or something like that. So they've got these varying brands, but for the most part online, you think of them as those individuals, as Ryan Serhant, as Pat Flynn. Well, I've struggled with that decision growing my own personal brand, because if you ever want to go and sell a company, it's hard to sell a company that is tied to your personal brand. That's why I have Southbound Media. I've been growing it for years. And as I grow it, when it gets to where I'm ready to get rid of it, I'll be able to sell that asset, sell that company to someone else. I can't sell Jonathan Patrick per se, but this recent sell of the Joe Rogan experience over to Spotify has got me thinking differently about this. Joe sold the company, or I don't know that it's sold, but he's moving all of his assets over to Spotify, all of his content, all of his media, his podcasts, his videos, all those things over to Spotify. And he was paid, I believe it was $100 million to do that. And if you think about it, the name of everything is the Joe Rogan experience. It's tied to his personal brand. So I still think that you have to grow a company brand if you ever intend to sell it off to someone else. I think Joe would have a hard time selling the Joe Rogan experience to someone else for them to take over. But does that really matter if you're collecting $100 million? That's pretty much selling your company. So I'm thinking about this idea of personal and corporate brands differently these days. I see the need to continue to grow my personal brand. I'm known for a few things. People call me largely for anything finance related, how to fund a startup, how to write pitch decks, all these things that hopefully you guys come to my channel to watch and learn about those topics. And so I'm thinking more and more about the idea of continuing to brand myself personally and less about my company. I'm going to have a legal operating entity that I do business under for tax purposes, liability purposes, and things like that. But I'm thinking about this in a way, continuing to brand myself. So for example, you've probably heard me say that I'm planning on bringing a podcast back. I ran the Southbound Startup podcast for a couple of years. I've been looking to bring it back. And recently, I've actually processed some of those podcast episodes and planned to put them back under the name of the Southbound Startup Podcast. But I'm leaning more and more these days, going to have to make a decision soon since I'm planning on spinning it back up June 1st. I'm leaning more and more these days to doing it under my own name, doing the podcast in my own brand. And the reason I like that idea is, well, frankly, I can talk about whatever I want to. When you're running a podcast that's dedicated to startups, you tend to just talk about startups and entrepreneurship. And that is a lot of what I talk about. But I also like to talk about life design. I'm really passionate about helping people make decisions to design their life and not their livelihood, to design their life first. And that's something I really focus on. So just think about, as you're growing a business, do you want to grow a personal brand and you be recognized out in the community, out online as the expert in this field? Or do you want to grow a company that you can sell off as an asset? That's part of the decisions that you have to make. I find it difficult to do both at the same time. It takes a lot of energy to kind of grow both at the same time. So it is a little bit better to put all your eggs in one basket to some degree and focus growing that brand that direction. So I hope that information helps you. Next week, I'm going to start talking about some aha moments where I go over some things that I've learned as a startup founder and share those with you so that hopefully you can benefit from that information. Hope that helps. Have a great day.